Hi, today we want to showcase the integration of Cisco ACI with Microsoft Azure Pack. So what you see here is the admin portal, the tenant portal for the Azure Pack, and we are going to log in to the portal as a tenant. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to take the use case of a typical ISV who wants to deploy a multi-tier application that involves compute and network. His application is a three-tier application: web, app, and databases. The web is a front end which he wants to spread across multiple servers. So he also needs to have a load balancer. Then across his tiers, he wants some isolation and some traffic to pass through, so he wants to have some access between the tiers. And then he wants to create some virtual machines and place them over there, place them in the networks. And then eventually he wants to deploy his application and access his application over a web browser. So that's what we are going to try to achieve over here. So the starting point for that is that let's go ahead and create the application tiers. So we go to ACI and then we click on networks, and then we say web. So you notice here is that creating network is like really simple. All you have to say is that what is the name of the network. So this is the use case where the user does not really care what verf he's in, or what BD, or what IP address he's going to receive from the infrastructure. All he cares is that he has some networks, some VMs on them. As long as the IP address works, it's routable, and then he can reach outside, and his clients can reach his portal. He's happy with that. So that's the use case that we're trying to showcase. Well, you could of course care for them and bring your own address space and so on. That we support that integration that as well, but in this demo we'll keep it simple. All right, so we're going to create multiple networks. So all these networks are actually getting created in the epic as an EPG. So what we have done is that we have created three networks: web, app, and DB. Now what the user can do is that he can go and create virtual machines. So the virtual machines, in this case, I have pre-created them. So we have these three virtual machines: one called Web Finance, two called Web Finance, and one for App Finance. So now, since the network is ready, let's go and click on the virtual machine, and then we will place the VMs in the virtual machine. Right, so I place this VM in the web tier. I'll place this one in the web tier as well. And then finally I'll place the third one in the app tier. Right, so you saw that we created networks, we placed the VMs in those networks, and now what's going to happen is that the infrastructure has a DHCP server, and the VMs are going to show up with an IP address from the infrastructure. So now as the VMs will start, you'll see that the fabric will learn the IP addresses, and then it's reported over here. So underneath this, I mean, the entire network infrastructure belongs to ACI, or it's implemented via ACI. So you see all the learning, forwarding, and those things come into play, and that's how we are learning this IP addresses and MAC addresses. Okay, so now from a user's perspective, his network is up, his VMs have started. The next thing that he wants to do is that right now his networks are isolated from each other, so he wants to create some access control rules from his networks. So for example, let's say that what he wants is that he wants to allow web tier to reach the app tier over port 5000 in TCP. So you see here that the usage model is quite simple, in the sense that we just ask the source network, destination network, and protocol port number, like a typical five tuple kind of a thing, right? So this thing is actually translated at the back into the ACI contracts, consumer providers, and so on. But the net effect is that we achieve an access control mechanism. quick summary, we created networks, we placed VMs in it, we created access control rules. So now the next thing that he wants to do is that he wants to spread the traffic for his front ends by taking advantage of a load balancer. So let's go and create a load balancer configuration. So what he does is that he chooses the network where his servers are, front-end servers are. So in this case, it's the web, and then he chooses a port which is to be load balanced, right? You see over here is that he doesn't have to bother whether he's using Citrix or F5 or Citrix or F5 or what is the external IP that he would want to use and so on. So everything is taken care of him by the infrastructure. A typical use case in self-service clouds like AWS and Azure. Right, so we do that. So when we do that, then APIC, using its L4 to L7 services integration, what would do is that it would allocate an external IP address, and then it would create the appropriate load balancer configurations in the load balancer. A question that you may have is that, okay, what device or what model of load balancer it is using? So in this particular case, it is using Citrix, and all of this has been set up beforehand for the infrastructure. And from a tenant perspective, it's all self-service. So it's not done per tenant, it's done per infrastructure. So new tenants can come and go and so on. Right. So for the user, I think his application is completely deployed. Now what he wants to do is that he just wants to go and see if it's functional. Right. So let's take this IP address, and then let's try to go to him, right, and see the application is up. So you saw that how in a matter of just a few minutes he was able to create a full-fledged network topology with ACLs, load balancers, isolated networks, and so on to deploy his application.